to stop doing these live streams as soon as I get a cup of tea, because it just makes it even more difficult to actually speak to you, the viewers, while I want to enjoy a cup of tea. But on that note, I'm going to enjoy a sip of the tea before we get going, because it's really good tea, and I was looking forward to drinking it. I just timed it very badly. That'll have to do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Hello, nice to see you. The international break is well and truly underway. Scotland last night with a very good result against Ukraine. A 3-0 win for Scotland. I didn't watch the game. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I did. I did not watch the game. It's Scotland with a good win last night, which of course included a couple of the boys from Celtic. We've seen Callum McGregor stroll it as usual. Greg Taylor was involved. David Turnbull's been sent home with an injury. We'll come on to that. But a good win for Scotland. But the international break's on. Hello, Ryan McGinley. Nice to see you, son. I need to see you sometime soon, lad. I'll see you tomorrow, actually, for uni. Wanna? Christ, didn't even think of that. That's just ruined my night. Aye, not the fact of seeing you, Ryan, uni. That, like, it's great to see you, mate. You've not ruined my night. Well, no, listen, we're gonna have a bit of fun tonight. We're just gonna do the usual chat away about whatever's in the news and whatnot. It's good to be back. You know, well, it's not necessarily good to be back. I enjoy being on holiday. I enjoy being in the sun with not much to do but booze. But you know, reality has to hit at points. And we've got to accept the fact that life isn't as easy as that. And we're back home to do the YouTube well and proper full time now again. Once I need to get into this mindset now that this is the sort of, you know, this is what matters most. But on that note, there's not an awful lot to talk about, is there? There's not too much in the news at all, really. I mean, nothing too much that's not been covered anyway on the channel already. There's not too much to talk about, and that's always the case with these international breaks. We get into them, we're hoping that something will come up, we're hoping that there's some news to talk about, but there never really is. It's always kind of quiet. We're outside the transfer window as well, so it's not as if we're going to be going out our way to sign players. It's a bit early before the January window. So ultimately, there isn't too much going on, and it makes these streams a little bit more difficult. It makes making videos a little bit more difficult, but with the viewers and the comments that I can see coming in just now, I hope you guys can make it a bit easier for me, and we can just talk about whatever you feel like talking about. As I said, the only kind of story to talk about is David Turnbull. He's leaving the Scotland camp for the international team. He has sustained an injury to his ankle after the innocent mirren game, so he's not going to be joining up with the Scottish national team, even though he was supposed to, even though he was called up. He will be sent home, and that'll allow Steve Clarke to make another couple of call-ups into the team. We're hoping the team in Scotland set up, we're hoping that the issue would clear up quickly. It's not been the case. He's dropping out for the 2 games for Scotland, including Ukraine and the Republic of Ireland as well. And that's about it. I mean, I don't know if that's going to carry forward into what's happening when we return. I don't know if it will be as long as that. I don't think it will be. The fact that he was even, you know, considered and picked in the first place and all the rest of it, and actually managed to kind of leave it up to this point to then drop out. I think we'll see David Turnbull return to some capacity when it gets back to the game against, who do we play first when the break's finished? I can't even remember now, it slipped out of my head. But when it comes back to that game, and it comes to the Leipzig game as well, and the Champions League, I think David Turnbull should be hopefully fit and firing. And aside from that, there isn't much news at all. Yeah, and it's probably good for us that we're not going to risk the injury. You know, I wish that McGregor could pull out now, to be quite honest. I don't want to see him getting injured on Scotland duty. That would be quite nasty, to tell you the truth. But well, listen, we know what McGregor's like. He'll always be fit and he'll always be firing. So, yeah, right. Listen, let's just have a Q&A. Let's just talk about what you guys want to talk about. As I said, there is absolutely bugger all. I mean, I don't even know how I'm actually running this live stream, to be quite honest, because there is nothing. I'm searching the web near and far for what could be news, or if there is any news, but done. There's nothing. There's nothing really happening. Of course, we've had all the chat of Ange Postecoglou and being linked with jobs down south. I can't really be bothered getting back into. If you guys have any questions in relation to it, feel free to do so. But let's have a look at what some of you guys have already got in, and we'll have a bit of Q&A. Make sure to get yourself included in the comments below. It's bloody roasting up here. You know what? I'm going to open a window. And yes, that's a stain on my top, okay? I'm going to open a window. Hopefully it doesn't interfere with the microphone. But let's get into some questions and answers, and let's have a bit of fun for, sort of 10, 15 minutes while you guys are here. Would I rather make the Champions League round of 16 or a deep Europa League run, is the question asked from Brendan. Now, here's my question to you, Brendan, if you're still watching and you're still here. How deep Europa League run are we talking here? Because if we're talking, Europa League final, semi-final, I think I would choose that. But the Champions League last 16 is so like prestigious. It's so rare. I suppose getting to the knockout stage, getting far in the knockout stages of Europa League is rare at this rate. But I think realistically, most fans would probably take a deep run in the Europa League, isn't it? It's the thought of dreaming. It's the thought of being able to actually do it. And Brendan is still here. He says semi-finals. I think I would take the semi-finals of the Europa League. I'll bring up the original question. I think I'd take that over the last 16. And I'll tell you the reason why. I know that it would lead to probably inevitable heartbreak. We've seen Rangers, of course, last year get to the final and suffer the heartbreak of a loss to Frankfurt. Well, for them it was heartbreak. For me it was joyous. It was gorgeous. It was a beautiful occasion. But, we'll probably inevitably suffer the heartbreak of getting to a Europa League semi-final or a final, and that would happen to us. But I think the prospect of actually dreaming, and I think the prospect of getting further each step of the way, like, okay, we've beat them, okay, we've beat them, okay, we've beat them, and then having that to kind of be excited and build off is just so much more exciting than, say, getting to the last 16 of the Champions League, drawing, I don't know, Bayern Munich, and then realising, right, okay, we're not going to get past this game. So I don't know. Look, listen, I'm not you know me, if you've watched me long enough, I always want the best for Celtic. I want us to finish as high as possible. I want us to win our Champions League group. Not going to happen, but I'd love us to win the Champions League group if possible. But if we're sitting, tossing up two hypothetical situations, I think it would be a deeper run into the Europa League that the vast majority of Celtic fans would take. Because if we can get more games, more money, more excitement at Celtic Park, I think most people are going to choose that over the prospect of a knockout in the last 16 of the Champions League. So that's how I feel about it anyway. I don't know what you guys think. Is Turnbull injured? Yes, he is. We spoke about it at the start of the stream. If you missed it, my apologies, but yes, he is. Mike is saying, Ange away to save Leicester from relegation? Yeah, Mike's question. Listen, I was thinking about this the other day. I've got over 100 viewers in just now. And I want to ask a hypothetical question, right? Let me just get this out of the way straight away, just in relation to Mike's question. Where is Mike's question? Sorry, there we go. Let me get that question up. Hypothetically speaking, well, I don't think Ange will leave. I don't think he'll leave this season. I don't think he'll leave to go to Leicester this season. I think that his next job is truly an elite level club. We've been through this. It's hypothetical scenarios here. I really do believe that deep down that Ange will stay with us, even if Leicester were to come calling. But I want to ask a hypothetical question, and I can't wait to see all of the no's piling into the chat any minute now. And I don't blame people for saying no, but it's fine. I'm going to take a sip of tea here, because that's a big question. I want to hear people's genuine answers, okay? Just posing this. Not saying I want this, not saying I think this will happen. If Brendan Rodgers was to be sacked by Leicester and Ange Postecoglou was to go to Leicester City, would Brendan Rodgers be the top candidate or your top candidate for the job? Would you bring back Brendan Rodgers if Leicester sacked him and Ange went to Leicester? Don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Ange will go to Leicester. Just hypothetically speaking, would you bring back Rodgers in that situation? Or would it be a case of looking for someone else, moving different direction? Look at it. Look at the chat. Look at it. I see one yes. I see Dylan saying yes. Dylan's going to have a target on his back tomorrow. But I just wanted to pose the question. I thought it was today I was thinking about it. I was like, right, I was just sitting there on my bed and I was like, right, if Ange was to go to Leicester, Rodgers would be out of job. Where does Rodgers go next? I went, well, if Ange went to Leicester, be an opening at Celtic. Would Rodgers end up back at Celtic? I don't think so. I don't think so. But I just wanted to hear the opinions. A lot of no's in there. Right, respectfully so. I was wondering if it would be as resounding a no as it actually has turned out to be in the chat, but quite clearly it is. But on the note of Rodgers, of Ange, I don't think he'll go to Leicester, even if Rodgers does get sacked. I just don't see it happening. And I think that if and I said this before when he was linked with the Brighton job, and I'll kind of repeat it now, if a team does come calling and there's a realistic offer on the table for Postecoglou, I really do think that Dermot Desmond will get the checkbook out and give Ange something even bigger, because what he's brought to this club, both footballing wise and commercially, what he's done here is huge. And the kind of, I don't want to make Ange this sort of just marketing technique at the moment, but like there's so much there for Dermot Desmond as a businessman that he would lose in Ange Postecoglou. So I think that he would get the checkbook out to do his best to absolutely keep him. The no's about Brendan Rodgers are funny though, absolutely funny. Dylan, he's saying that the success he brought is phenomenal, but can see why people are saying no. Of course, absolutely. I think a lot of people would rather drop down dead than see Rodgers back at Celtic. I've made my opinions clear before. I'm not going to go over them again. Right, we'll move on from that because it's a nothing story. He's not going to leave. This is Mick puts it perfectly. He won't leave. He's at a massive club. He said he's at a massive club, and he's happy. And that's, I think, the main thing of it. And I know we can fall into traps, and it's happened in the past, and it's happened, of course, with Rangers as well. We've seen Gerrard say, "Does he look happy? Does he look settled?" And then 2 weeks later, he was at Aston Villa. But I really do believe it with Ange, and the Champions League football, I think, is enough to keep him around here. Ryan, would you say Celtic have the capabilities of going far in the Europa League if we get knocked out the group stages of the Champions League? Absolutely, Reece. Definitely. I think this is the most confident that I will feel in years in the knockout stages of European competition if we progress through. Obviously, we need to finish third at least in the group. We could very well finish bottom, and that might not happen. But if we do make it through the group and we do finish in a first or second or third place, it's the most confident I've felt in a team, and we're seeing improvement. I was really disappointed we didn't win the game against Shakhtar Donetsk last week. Don't get me wrong. But in that 90 minutes and in that performance, there was enough there for me to suggest that Celtic are good enough to go toe-to-toe with sides in the Europa League and to try and have a run at it. If Rangers could make it final last year, Celtic can certainly make the final any other year. We're a better team, we've got a better squad, and we've got a squad that I think can compete with a lot of teams at that level at this moment in time. I think that over the summer, we've just got even better and we've stepped it up. I know last year we went out to Bodo, fair enough, but yeah, it's... I think we're good enough. Donation from Ian Fleming. Thank you very much, Ian. I'm a regular in the chat and with the donations. I appreciate you, mate. Do you watch any other Celtic podcasts and channels, Ryan, or do you stick to your own? No, I watch plenty. I watch Hamish all the time. I listen to the Gig podcast all the time as well. Those are the two main ones I go to. Those two guys are like, they're the creme de la creme for me. Paul and Celtic Fans does a great job as well. There's a lot of good ones out there. Celtic Exchange, just tons of great ones. There's tons to choose from. But yeah, absolutely. You've got to dabble. You've got to look at the competition. No, I just enjoy taking in the content. Everybody does a good job at their own thing as well. But thank you for the donation, Ian. It is much appreciated. Where is the McGinley? He'll be in his bed getting ready for tomorrow for uni. He'll be tucked up early. We've got tickets sorted for Leipzig away, mate. Sort you out if we haven't. I've got tickets for the home end beside the away section, but not as far as I'm aware. I've been on holiday, so I've not really been keeping into check of what the ticket situation's like. As far as I'm aware, we haven't got ones in the actual away end. So if you know of any, always give us a shout. It'd be appreciated. But thanks, Roscoe. I do appreciate that. Let's see, what else? Any questions? Let's get them in. I think we'll go far in the Champions League. It's still building. Or next year we'll go far in the Champions League. We're building a world-class team, says Belly. Listen, the Champions League is going to be a competition that will always be hard to go far in. You've got to have a lot of resources behind you, and you're obviously battling with the best of the best. But listen, the way we're building right now, the thing is with the Champions League, and what scares me the most, and I don't want to talk about this, I don't want to get negative and start thinking about the worst, but the one thing that kind of scares me is the fact that we could lose a lot of players over the next year. A lot could go. Jota, Juranovic, O'Reilly, we're hearing them linked, and we know they're good enough for moves. So, does that process of becoming a Champions League level side then be halted when they move on? This is the importance of getting someone like Postecoglou tied down to a contract and keep him at the club, because you keep him around the club, you keep the philosophy around the club, you keep the feel around the club, and they get the same sort of players and similar players in to fill roles for those who leave. So it's really important we tie Ange down. It's really important he's here for the progression of us as a European team. But listen, if we keep the players we've got just now and we add to that, there's no saying where the limit is. It's kind of, glass ceiling for Celtic. Declan Gallagher, Christ. Declan Gallagher. Had a good game at the weekend, Dick. A home win for Celtic against both Shakhtar and Leipzig, with Real Madrid winning all games, means we are guaranteed to finish second before we even play our last group game against Real Madrid. Very, very interesting start there from Declan. Thank you very much, sir. Very potentially could happen. You know what I mean? A big ask for us to go and obviously win both games against Leipzig. And then like, obviously the game against Shakhtar as well. To win 3 games would be huge. But if we get the home wins tied down, which we certainly can, we've showed we're good enough, you know, a second place is realistic. So we'll wait and see what happens. What's this? Ryan, would you want, after a phenomenal financial year, would you think any big money billionaires would consider buying the club? A man that says Brian. Now this is actually I like this. I like this question coming up because it gives me something to talk about. Because what's topical about this just now is the landscape of football kind of changing again in Britain. We've obviously seen Chelsea change hands. Ted Bowley, is that what his name is? Ted Bowley's bought over Chelsea. He's came in and he's got all these radical ideas. He's wanting to change the club. Now, I don't know if you've heard a lot of the things that the new American owner wants to do at Chelsea. But, you know, we'll talk about this all-star game he wants to have in England. And, you know, apparently he was dabbling with formation changes, and he was talking about bringing Ronaldo for the commercial aspect of him, saying a lot of Americanization seems to be the kind of key at Chelsea right now. Outside of that, at Manchester United, they're looking at the very real prospect of the Glazers finally selling up. There is talk of, obviously, forgot his name now, slipped out of my head, but lifetime Manchester United fan who also wanted to buy Chelsea coming in and buy Manchester United. The landscape of British football ownership is sort of changing at this moment in time. We've seen Abramovich leave Chelsea, who was big, obviously, and we're seeing the Premier League just every single year get more money, more big owners. When will Celtic ever fall into that same bracket? Now, this is the thing. I honestly don't think Celtic will ever find themselves in a position where we have hungry billionaire. Well, do you know what? Dermot Desmond is already rich enough. You know, you're talking about Ireland's richest man. But I don't think that Celtic will ever be in the position where we have Arabian owners coming in or American owners coming in, or, you know, I don't think that's ever going to really happen at Celtic. And why? Because we're not in the English Premier League. We don't have the commercial selling point that the Premier League clubs do at this moment in time. We do as a football club and our own merchandise and stuff like that, but when it comes to TV, broadcasting, and the money that can be made from all of that, it's not going to be the same profitable sort of industry as what a Manchester City is, a Chelsea is, a Manchester United is. I don't think that we'll ever land ourselves in a position where we get people like that looking to buy Celtic. You might look at that as a positive or a negative. I don't know what side of the fence you will lie on when it comes to that, but I just don't think that Celtic will ever be a club that gets themselves into that position where they're considered good enough to be bought by one of these sides. It would take a massive move and shift in Celtic's landscape for that to happen, and by that, what I mean is a move to England. If Celtic ever moved to England and played their football down there, not geographically, just, you know, domestic football wise, if they were to play in the English system, then yes, obviously offers would probably come calling. It would then become one of the most profitable clubs probably to try and own. But until that day comes, which I doubt it ever will, there isn't a lot that attracts these owners to come and buy over a Scottish side, and that's just being realistic. It's not even like we have a population up here that makes it profitable for them. You know, you see clubs in Australia being bought over by massive companies and massive owners. You see clubs in America, they might not be big names in football, but what they have is massive populations. And what they have is cities and groups and states and everything around them. And just the general population makes up for it. In Scotland, in Glasgow, we have, 500,000 people. There's about 500,000 people in fucking one street in Texas. You know what I mean? It's not the same gain here for these owners to come and do it up in Scotland, because they don't get the TV deals, they don't get that much sort of population around the clubs. It's just not the same for them. So it's never really going to happen, I don't think, when it comes to Celtic. But, I mean, that could be looked at as a good thing. I don't want to see Celtic become a sort of commercial, like a cash cow of a club, you could say. Which at times it feels like we are, but, I mean, you know, just to the same extent. Let's see. Would you say Celtic have looked somewhat naive when presented with big chances in front of goal in the last 2 group stage games so far? I don't know if naive is the word that I would use, Lee, but I think you're certainly onto something in general with what you're saying in the same sort of vibe. I think Celtic have just been sort of careless. I think that they just haven't been as vindictive as they should be, and maybe naive could be the word that's used, but we just haven't looked as composed or as ready as we should be, and I think there's been a lot of carelessness around, how we've approached it at times. I don't know. Naive could be the word. Probably is the word. I would agree with what you're saying. Yeah. A long road for a shortcut. I would probably agree. We need to take these chances. Would you welcome a move to the Premier League on that topic? No, probably not. I've been very vocal on that before. I like Scotland, Celtic playing in Scotland. It's the tradition. We like fighting for the domestic treble up here. It's the kind of bread and butter of Celtic. Will there come a point? This is the big question. This is where people need to kind of... It's hard to... People need to open up their minds a little bit and say, I'm not saying you need to welcome it, it has to happen, but there's going to probably come a point in football, maybe not in any time in the next 5-10 years, but at some point in the future, there is going to come a point in football where the Scottish game is going to probably dry up for Celtic and we will be left behind massively. It probably will happen. That's just realistic. Now, does that mean suddenly there'll be an opportunity presented for Celtic to play down south? I'm not saying that'll happen, but there's going to come a point with the way that the football market is going and stuff like that, that we might need to consider it at some point. I don't really want to think about that, though. Just saying. Wasteful. That's the word. That is the word. Let's see. Celtic must buy in the January sales when the window is open. The defence is still not solid. Yeah, another couple of additions would be nice. I would enjoy that, Daniel. Another couple of additions to the squad would probably be quite good, to say the least. Us going to England is on par with the Super League anti-fans move. Absolutely, Sean. I agree. I don't think the fans would welcome it. I don't think the fans would want it. I certainly don't want it. But I think there's just going to be a point in football in maybe 20, 30 years' time where us as Celtic fans will probably sit there and go, right, for the betterment of our club, it might actually need to be considered. In terms of, trying to progress as a European team anyway, it'll probably become even more difficult in years in the future. So yeah. A lot of people, as you say, like, for example, here, Peg Leg Lonergan, he says Celtic going to the Premier League would be the best thing to happen to the club. A lot of people, there will be people on both sides of it. There will absolutely be people on both sides of it. I'm more on the side of let's not do it. But, it'll change as time moves on. That's just how, football can only be judged on time at the moment. It's hard to look into the future. I think as time moves, then we can judge things. So, yeah. Any other questions? Let's see. Would be good having all the money in the world, but I think the odds of being supporting Celtics when we're a tight budget but sees results. Yeah, well, it's the bread and butter up here, isn't it? I think we're used to it, we like it. Is our product being too comfortable? I don't think so. I think it is just, what Celtic's all about. We play in Scotland for a reason, we win up here, and we like it. So, yeah. Jota hasn't impressed much in the Champions League. Really hope he shows his quality in the next game. I'd agree. He's probably been a little bit of a letdown so far in the 2 Champions League games. So I'm hoping against Leipzig he could maybe step up quite a tad. We'll see. Right, I'm going to leave it off there for tonight. 25 minutes seems like a reasonable amount of time. There'll probably be a lot more of these as the international break goes on because, as it was the case today, there wasn't too much to talk about. So I enjoy these streams. It's screams. Wow. I enjoy these streams because we get to talk about stuff like Celtic and England and that we normally wouldn't. We just get to have a laugh. So there will be a lot more of them. You can come prepared with your questions. We can sit down, have a chat. But yeah, I think that'll do it for tonight's one anyway. So make sure to hit like and subscribe. It'd be much appreciated. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Cheerio.